Hello, I am here with the powerhouse Gilda Lyons, who played Trina in the film 910 Love Before the Fall. And I'm so glad you're here to talk to us today because I was entranced by this film. The score gave me this almost kind of Sondheim-esque interweaving of social dynamics with this drive of all the characters to open up and share their gritty, raw feelings to quite the cathartic effect. This was an ambitious project, a contemporary opera sung live on film, fully sung, and it's set the night before the fall of the Twin Towers. I do think that ambitious risk paid off quite immensely, and you've been getting a lot of accolades, so audiences agree. Now, you are a composer, you're a vocalist, a performer, an educator. How did you get involved with this project?
Well, I've actually been working with Daron Hagen for a number of years, both professionally and in life. We're partners, and
Our couple.
um, but we actually come to music from opposite extremes. Daron was a wunderkind and writing symphonies at age 15. I was formally trained as a visual artist all my life. Um, and so I came to concert music relatively late. And by late, I mean like I couldn't read music at 18, which feels like, oh, well, then you can't be a musician, clearly, right? Everything in American culture tells you you have to have been doing concert music since you were 3. But that and it's a beautiful thing now as an educator myself to dismantle that myth.
Mhm.
Um, but so we come to music, Daron and I, from very different worlds, but we meet up on all the core values. And I really
Yeah.
do think as creators, one has a value system, the things that are the generators for you, the things that make it go. And
Mhm.
so that's where we have found this beautiful, very powerful common ground that we can, I think we both nudge each other to keep going when
Mhm.
like in all the ways, but also just like when you get to a point with the work and you're like, is this too exposed? And the stance is yes, yes it is, keep going. That's where it starts getting really interesting.
Yeah. And I think you all needed to get very exposed in this piece for it to come together and be so, so powerful.
Yeah.
So, in terms of it being a live, fully sung film, no dialogue, no stepping off and breaking out into a song at a key moment, what was the choice? How was that choice made to commit fully to that?
Well, that is entirely in Daron's as the author, those entirely in his hands. I mean, and that's part of what is extraordinary about the project and why it was an immediate yes.
Mhm.
Because certainly everyone in the film is we're all swamped. We're all and we have to choose projects that are going to be like we're going to pause and really give ourselves 100% to this thing. So it has
Mhm.
to be something we're hungry for.
Mhm.
And the fact that Daron conceived of this piece as a film, and it is entirely sung, and it is this rich work of magical realism, and that he's writing for us as humans and making these characters around that core connector.
Mhm.
I mean, that's where it started. It all started with him, really just making a project that each person that he approached in making this team would look at it and go, well, yeah, I got to do that.
How can I turn that in? It's kind of
Right.
once in a lifetime. Well, hopefully not once in a lifetime. Hopefully there'll
Right.
be more of that. But yeah, your artist senses start to tingle and say, "Oh, yeah, there's something visceral inside you that
Yeah,
tells you to move forward with
exactly.
that."
Exactly. There's a sense of this is breathing, as a creative person, and as the nature of my life is that I do compose and perform in equal parts,
Yeah.
um, and and that makes me a little odd in the professional world that I live in.
Yeah.
But I but that's the payoff, is that I get to work on projects that are maybe I mean, there's this hasn't been done before, opera film, a piece that's conceived in this way, to to live in this medium as a medium.
Yeah.
So I'm just really thrilled to have been a part of this experience.
Well, they were also very much lucky to have you in it as well, because your performance was brilliant.
Oh, thank you.
In terms of the format, the immediacy of theater was so rich, I found, where you get this the open-hearted kind of theatricality
Mhm.
of saying what you need to say with that abandon of theater. But it
Mhm.
must have been a challenge as actors on film with the demands of the film medium, where you need to stay grounded and truthful, and you almost can't push it too far because the camera will say, you might be feeling it, but it doesn't seem or read as true. So I'm wondering, what were the challenges or maybe the added joys of performing it filmed?
Yeah, I mean, I I guess maybe I've been working on this for a very long time,
Mm,
which is, there are places that I am committed to going that are absolutely not traditionally beautiful.
mm.
And I take that really, more than seriously. That's kind of my heart cry, you
Mm,
know? um Again, I guess I can't help but circle back to what I perceive as the dominant culture. I think I'm very attuned with what those expectations are, because I don't want to be defined by them, and
yeah.
because one has to notice what they are in order to push back against
Yeah.
them. And everything in our in the culture in which I was brought up says, be nice,
Mhm.
be pretty.
Yeah.
and
Don't
and
challenge.
right, and that is something for a really long time I've been identifying and questioning. And I love beautiful things.
Yeah.
I also believe that beauty is a color.
Hmm.
It's part of an array of necessary places we can go.
Hmm.
um and so that's like, that I really live as a live performer. And then when you go in the studio, then now you have to confront it in a whole different way, because everything else, I'm like, you know what? That performance is not a fixed thing. That performance is what happened on Friday at 8 o'clock,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's ephemeral. But now when you go into a studio, then it's like, oh, well, actually, no, it's not ephemeral. It's fixed. This is the document. Everybody that learns this piece is going to refer to this thing. But then film, it's like, whoa. Now it's not just your sound. Now it's your being and your entity. And I have, again, I've been making peace with that.
Mhm.
Um, that just being fully present in my body is more important than um, than just being pretty all the time. I want to listen. I want to be in it. I want to be grounded, as you said,
Yeah.
and centered, and honest, and just get out of the way. Like, have any kind of self-awareness about, oh, is this the right angle?
Yeah.
That has to just go. And I I think that's part of why I was asked to do this, because that I think that there's a significant overlap between that sensibility and the work that my actor friends, for whom I have such admiration, that is something they have to live as well.
Hmm. And I think it's an artist's job, a duty to be able to find those moments of abandon and forgetting about that. So you can, I don't know, challenge the societal ethos. And
Oh,
I think everybody forgets all of those constraints when they connect with a performance that is so of in the moment, that we say, that is beauty. So And you also looked great nonetheless.
Thank you.
In terms of tapping into your character, she had to go through this journey of unpacking past traumas to be able to accept and to open her heart. So, how did you tap into Trina's journey? Was there a particular line that helped you bring to her, or do you know her in a way?
Well, I mean, it's kind of cheating because because these rules were written on us.
Lovely.
And so everyone wrote an essay, and everyone really considered where they were willing to go.
Cool.
And again, I guess I I have found it so powerful when someone in the industry has done a thing and I thought, oh, I love that that gives people license to do that. And
Mhm.
that's part of my commitment, because I do teach, I do live in a world that's public, and I'm a really shy and private person. But
Yeah.
but it's got to be wide open. It's got to be done with commitment,
Mhm.
and integrity, to be honest.
Yeah.
So I was absolutely willing to share, whatever from my backstory would be useful in creating this new character, because
Cool.
I don't have training in law. But I don't do that too. uh,
I was like, we
uh,
could add it to the list. I wouldn't be surprised. That's next year.
right. um but there was all of the tensions at home and the background at home that Trina talks about. That was, my dad really was a scholar, and he really was an alcoholic, and a beautiful man who loved me and was all the things. And my mother really was the person with grace and strength and courage, that who still does inspire me. And so all of those aspects and elements from my past get to be woven into this new character of Trina. And also, when one sees it for the first time and you see what part of you is in there, it's like, whoa. And one of them was, I own a lot of hammers, which it because she's angry in that moment of her aria. And um and that's something that I think about a lot. I think about the ways that and Daron and I have talked about this, that I- I've been noting the ways that we guard ourselves,
Mm.
and that I think of it like hammers, like we assemble hammers to protect ourselves throughout a lifetime.
Smash that
Um,
down, smash that away.
and that in um it, so self-protective tools, they are they have no room on the stage.
Mm.
It's our job as artists to leave our hammers at the door. And so when I saw Trina say, I own a lot of hammers, each has a given name, I'm like, oh, and sometimes I pick them up and heft them, and I could bring one down on you, but I won't. Right. Like, I loved that she's in it, and she was using language that I've been processing myself and developing myself. And it was very, very moving to me to see that in her character.
Yeah. It's therapeutic, but also a beautiful honoring of your parents and
Yeah.
your experience as well.
Yeah.
Wow, what a performer's dream to have this material, but you do have to be ready for it because some people wouldn't be
Yeah.
ready to take that on.
Exactly. It's also, I mean, I would say that Daron works to assemble teams for whom vulnerability is strength.
Hmm.
And I think that that's really highlight in this piece, in a way that it's a powerful driver of
Yeah,
the performance itself.
yeah, absolutely. So, in terms of the character stories, we also had these lovely mythology themes tinkering through. So, we had Karen the Ferryman, a poignant common theme to dip into throughout the piece. So, in terms of your performance, and then I guess the overall project, what significance did the mythology have for all of you?
Well, of course, that gives it the magical component of the magical realism, right?
Yeah.
That there is this question of where really are we? You know, are we actually the night before our our death, or are we already dead, and are we living in this kind of bardo place? Are we um it was, and I didn't know going into production for sure.
Uh-huh.
And part of it is just that the production itself was very compressed timeline. And I was so I'm Trina, which you know, but a lot of people don't know that I'm also Yuri.
Mm,
So when I walk in, when I'm there performing, I'm also hearing myself as the sung, pre-recorded woman's voice and her backup vocals, right? So I'm part of that. I think it's a, I mean, I could explore that for the rest of my life creatively. Live voice with pre-recorded, same voice, and those kind of interactions I think is fascinating.
yeah.
Um, so that mythology weighed for us in ways that it allowed us to explore these characters on any given day in production from a different angle.
Mhm. There was, yeah, it felt like there's a lot of thematic Easter eggs for all of you that were kind of
Yeah.
brimming under the surface. And it was neat to see how different lyrics or different characters would bounce off of those,
Right.
not just even the mythology, but the influence of it being the night before 9/11. And
Right.
having that significance, that weight from the beginning, thinking this could be the last words they're saying. Or,
Yeah.
yes, are we in this liminal space and are we just cycling through, or is it what they wish they said? So
Mhm.
that was really exciting for me to just see the multiple layers for us to explore, and then the very real character emotions and arcs that we're going through too. That was lovely. So I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Yeah. And I think also that one has one's own mythology.
Mm.
One lives that, and that Roger, who played Karen, and also Rob Frankenberry, who plays my partner in the film, they are part of my mythology. they are they are so I love them in my whole self, and I feel like I've become who I am while existing in friendship with both of them. And
Yeah.
so there was that added layer too of exploring together.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what life this piece would have with another cast. Like it couldn't have that same kind of visceral, real energy bouncing between, but
But
yeah.
totally different and interesting. In
Yeah,
fact, while this was being filmed, Daron was simultaneously staging it for a concert production with the silver cast of graduate students. So it was performed, we did our recording project, and then at the end of rehearsal days, Daron would disappear and he would go stage another cast who was doing a live performance on a stage, not filmed.
really interesting. I'd love to see
Yeah.
how that would work with another cast too. I mean, the material is so strong that I think absolutely they can, but definitely
Just
different
a different
dynamic.
piece. That I think
Yeah,
you're absolutely right. Yeah.
yeah. I also really appreciated the idea of memory kind of swirling around this. I remember, so we get your shadows at the beginning of the four people that were there. And I don't know why I'm thinking about this, but I was just visiting my grandma. She's quite elderly and her memory comes in and out. Sometimes she's present and then she's completely out. But when music comes, she is there. She's alive. It's like an electric jolt that goes through her and she's belting them out. And I thought
Oh,
that just the idea of the choice to have no dialogue, but just the music throughout was a great way to have this memory lingering throughout the space too. So that's my little part.
I love that. That's very
Yeah,
beautiful. Thank
yeah.
you.
So in terms of the film circuit, this film has done the rounds to quite a bit of success. The score has been heavily lauded, as well as Cannes Ensemble Cast Award, which is huge. And you've received multiple Best Actress awards as well. So, what has it been like encountering audiences' reactions around the world to the film?
Just um it's so exciting that this very exposed work that we did from that place of great vulnerability is having this life with people I'm never going to meet. It is we did have a screening at Upstate Films in Rhinebeck, and I was noting that I was like, oh, I don't really have the tools for this one. Like, because all the performance, all the, all the work that I've done as composer out there in public, or as vocalist or producer or whatever I'm doing, this is I mean, the medium itself is new.
Yeah.
And so what an extraordinary thing as a mid-career artist to be able to be stepping into that.
Hmm.
And I'm just so excited that it's being received so beautifully, because because one can't do the thing that one believes in for that,
Yeah.
but it's exciting when it lands because then it's of use. And
Hmm.
I really think that maybe that's all any of us really want, is to do something that can be of use.
Hmm.
And that is those, all the laurels and all the really thrilling reception it's getting, it just confirms that it's of use. And that's a real honor.
Yeah, that's the name of the game. And what was your reaction when you first saw it?
Do
Any
I really
surprise?
look like that from that direct? Really? No, no, actually, I was so excited that I was fully prepared for to be ADRing for, ever. And I think maybe for the 60 minutes, maybe 2.5, 3 minutes, maybe I don't think it was four, like minutes of ADR. Everything that we did was in there. There is and see, that's the thing I can be really hard about. When I'm done and I did that thing and I gave you everything, I don't want to look at it again.
No, it's done. It's gone. It will be
That's
what
it.
it will be. Yeah.
That's exactly it. And I was prepared because of the nature of this project to maybe have to do some stuff,
Yep. Yep. Yep.
but
Yep.
but I also really was like, but I'd love to not. And really, Daron wanted us all to feel secure in the document, that he did not want to put something out into the world that any of us had any kind of reservations about.
Yeah.
That's not good for anybody.
No.
But at the same time, I'm really committed to having it be what it is. And I when I saw the rough cut, I was like, this is honest. Yes, I'm keeping all of it. The only ADR that I did was for like when I think a glass clinked, and so we had to, we were missing a line because this really specific thing that was beyond our sound editor's control. It, but it
Pretty
was,
good then.
yeah, no, it was minimal. And so that was my first thought, was I'm so excited that this actually represents what it felt like to be
Yeah.
in this thing.
Yeah. Oh, that's lovely. I'm glad that there's a piece with the project too.
Yeah.
And what's next for you following this?
So I actually just premiered an as composer and vocalist an evening length piece called Corazón de Esperanza, which shines a light on the humanitarian crisis in Nicaragua. My mother's from Nicaragua. I have family in Nicaragua, and it's something that I was commissioned to get to talk about. And that went up in Philadelphia at the Esperanza Arts Center, and so now the next phase is looking toward getting a filmed performance of that piece.
That's very exciting. And I mean, with the filming, you're like, been there, done that. We can anytime. Bring it on. Well, this has been so, so lovely to chat with you today. I really appreciate it and getting more nuance into the film because as I was seeing it, there's so many things brimming in with me that I wanted to know more about in the process. So thank you so much.
It was a real pleasure, Hannah. Thank you.
Yeah. Have a great rest of your summer.
Thanks. You too.